What's up, guys? My name is Kyle Dixon, and in this video I'm going to be showing you guys the exact process that I have followed to add over $30,000 of monthly recurring revenue to my business in the past 90 days using cold email and cold DMs. So this isn't exactly step for step what I did, because that would take forever, but this is kind of like a high level overview of the process that I do follow so you guys could kind of implement this into your own businesses. So hopping into the first step of this process is the market research side of things. So before we even build a list, we want to understand the market, and we want to understand the different segments in the market that we could potentially, penetrate and take market share of. So the first step is deep market research. So essentially we have this prompt that we run through AI on whatever company that we're working with. So, for our business, we have an agency that does cold email for, other agencies and SaaS companies. So we'll put their company name in there, and we'll also feed their onboarding survey into this prompt at the bottom. And it's going to output basically this big long answer with all these different details. And then we have this checklist down here that we like to follow for that to make sure that we actually got the answers that we need. So the next step is we take those answers about the market and we feed it into the total addressable market prompt. So if you guys don't know what TMA means, it means total addressable market. Like, how big is your total addressable market that you guys are going to be reaching out to, right? So what we do here is we take our total addressable market and we break it into 12 different market segments. And we're looking for a bunch of different details on the market to identify these different segments so we could build personas around them. So we have another checklist down here that we like to follow for, basically like what answer we're looking to get from this prompt to make sure that we have the right information to go to the next step. Okay. Now, once we have the right information, this is our last and final prompt from market research. It's our enhance ideal customer persona development prompt. Now, this is where we take the answer from step 2 and we basically develop personas for each of these different market segments that we are going to potentially reach out to, right? So we have 12 to 15 different market segments, and we're going to develop personas for each of them, such as like demographic profile, like what's their job title, department, reporting structure, typical level of experience. And then we're going to look into psychographic profiles, so like what's their primary responsibilities, their KPIs, their daily workflows and operational challenges, technologies, communication styles. And then we're going to look at pain point analysis, so operational pains, strategic pains, personal pains, financial pains. We're going to be looking at buying behavior. We're going to research the process and information. We're going to research, we're going to look into how they research stuff to make buying decisions. And then their evaluation criteria, their typical budget and authority, and their approval process. And each of these different segments in the market, they're going to have different personas that we're going to basically be contacting, and they're going to work all different. They're going to work differently, right? So the market, every market essentially has different segments, and the different segments in the market act differently. So what we're doing here is we're trying to get a clear idea of each of these different market segments, like how they act, what are their pain points, who are they, what do they do, stuff like that, so we can actually build proper list, right? Because if we don't know this stuff, we don't really know how to contact them. We don't know how to break into a market. So we need to understand the different segments in the market and then break it down into basically this persona that we could, build a list off of, right? So then we have a checklist for that, kind of to make sure that we got everything that we need for the next step. So that's basically the market research side of things before we build a list. Now, the next step is list building. Right? So we're going to identify list building opportunities for each of the different market segments. So we're going to take this prompt right here. All these prompts aren't exactly what I use. They're kind of like a rough idea of what I use. I use more even in-depth prompts. I know those already look in-depth, but just so you know, I'm just trying to give you guys an idea of what I do here. Okay. So what we'll do with this prompt is it's a lead source scout prompt. Essentially, for each of the different market segments, we are going to try to identify the best place to pull list for each of the different market segments, right? And then this is some more information like what keywords we should use in when filtering them, like in Apollo or something like that, or Instantly or Clay. So like how should we filter them? Like what keywords should we exclude? Which ones should we include to really build this list that matches that market segment? Okay. Now what we'd like to do is we take all that information of how we could pull lists for each of the different segments. And we also are going to identify which of our different marketing outreach angles could work for each of the different market segments. So we have over 50 outreach angles that we use at our company to basically penetrate different segments of markets that act differently. So for example, one of the outreach angles is scraping Trustpilot for potential customers who weren't happy with their competitors. So for example, if I have a SaaS company I'm working with, we'll look at Trustpilot and we'll look up their competitors. We'll try to find bad reviews. We'll scrape those and we'll reach out to them and see if they have solved their problem yet. Okay. And then the next one is finding lookalike audiences based off of current clients and positive replies. So for example, like the current clients that I have or one of my clients might have, we'll do a lookalike search to find more people like them so we can reach out to them. And then we could, in those outreach messages be like, hey, we're also working with this person who, is similar in this way, this way, this way. We help them do this, this, and this. That message is going to resonate way more than a typical outreach message because there's a lot of resonating variables there. So the more resonating variables you have in your cold outreach, the more likely they are to respond. Okay. Another angle is we'll use Trigify and RB2B. So RB2B is like basically this thing that goes on your website. It's this piece of code, and all the data is sent to RB2B where they basically identify every single website visitor. So for example, if I went on your website, it would tell you Kyle Dixon from Vroom Marketing is looking at your website. And what you could do is you can set up a webhook that sends that data to Clay, and it will automatically score like me against your ideal customer persona. And if I rank high enough, it will automatically, if you set this up, send it to a different Clay table where it will automatically personalize an email to reach out to me. That might sound confusing if that's the first time you ever heard that, but replay what I just said. And also, same thing for Trigify. So this essentially like Teamfluence, Trigify and Teamfluence, these essentially will monitor LinkedIn, and any person that engages with it or views your profile or even engages with your competitors' LinkedIn profiles will take all that data, send it to Clay, where it'll have their name, their company, for further enrichment, such as like firmographics, like company size, how much revenue are they doing, positions that they're in, to use that information to score them against your ideal customer persona. And if they're ranked high enough, we could send them to another Clay table to personalize an outreach message, right? So that's just 3 of our 50 plays. But basically, we'll take all our different plays, we'll take all that list information, the market data, we'll run it through AI to create different outreach angles for each of the different market segments, okay, and their persona. Next step is we scraped our total, we scraped the whole market, and we'll segment it into different segments, right? But then what we'll do is we'll basically 3x our total addressable market with this protocol. So we have this whole protocol that we'll follow, which will basically take our data and it'll 3x it, right? So it'll do lookalike searches and a whole bunch of stuff right here. It's all here. I'm not gonna go too into the weeds because it'll take forever. And then what we do is for the 12 different market segments, we will monitor different signals, such as, for example, let's say I'm on that list, right, alongside with 12,000 other people. It's gonna monitor in like day by day, job changes, funding rounds, hiring spikes, technology stack changes, and all these different things right here. All these different things. It's going to track for each person in your market. And then when one of these signals happens, it will take them, send them to a different Clay table to personalize an outreach message in live time, right? So let's say a company just raised funding. We're reaching out to them the next day, okay? We're not like, hey, we saw you raise money 3 months ago. No, we're tracking our whole market for any of these companies that might raise money. And then if they raise money or do any of these other ones, now we don't use them all. These are just a big list of all different types of signals, mergers, stuff like that. We'll personalize our outreach message fast. So it's extremely relevant and it looks super personalized. And we're the first person to reach out to them before anyone else. Okay, now that's basically, so right now we've covered market research and list building. Okay, now these are some of our kind of copywriting sequences that we use, kind of going into like creating copy now. So these are 10 really good ones that have worked for us that I'm kind of giving you guys. And these are some of our messaging principles that we'll follow. So like under 75 words, strong front end offer / introductory offer. And you guys can read all that. I don't want to read it all to you guys. You guys can see it obviously. So yeah, we'll take all this data that we just have built for like all the lists and everything like that. And then we'll take all our templates. Now we have over 100 plus templates and we'll put it all in the AI. So it'll basically give us the templates that it thinks will work best for each of the different 12 market segments. So we'll have different templates for each of the different segments of the market. Okay. And then we'll pick 4 or 5 winners for each different segment. And then we'll basically divide it. We'll have 12 different segments in clay. So we'll have 12 different clay tables. And then we'll enrich it, we'll clean it, and we'll create personalized emails to reach out to them based off the different segments of the market. So it's personalized. It's not just one message going to the whole market. Okay. So that's kind of the copywriting side of things on a high level overview of how it works. Next step is infrastructure. So this is going to be different for everybody. So everyone's total addressable market is going to be different, right? So we reverse engineer how many inboxes we're going to need to reach out to our TMA. So we're reaching out to our TMA about once every 3 months. So because things could change, right? They might not be ready now, but in 3 months, they might be ready. So we reverse engineer how many inboxes we'll need in order to execute on the plan that we're creating. So for example, let's say our total addressable market is 10,000 companies. So to contact them every 3 months, we're going to need to reach about 3,333 companies per month, since that's 10,000 divided by 3. So each company is going to get a 4 email long sequence. So we're going to be sending 40,000 emails per quarter. So 10,000 companies per quarter, 4 emails per company. That's 40,000 emails. Okay. Now each inbox can only send 20 emails per day, 20 cold emails per day. If you go over that, you'll kind of burn them. And we send emails 6 days per week, which means each inbox is going to send 120 emails per week. So over a 13-week period, one inbox can only send 1,560 emails. 13 weeks is a quarter. Okay. So one inbox can send 1,560 emails. Now we need to send 40,000, right, per quarter. So we take 40,000, we divide by 1,560, which we need about 25.6 inboxes. So rounding up, we'll need about 26 inboxes. However, we do monthly rotation with these inboxes. So these inboxes aren't going to run for 3 months straight. They'll get burned before that. So we double it. So we'll do month-to-month like rotation. So what I mean is we'll have, instead of 26 inboxes, we'll have 52 inboxes. So we'll have 26 that are sending emails, right? And then every month we'll switch the ones that aren't sending emails with the ones that are. So there'll be 26 that are just kind of warming up, not sending emails. And then we'll have 26 that are sending emails. We'll do that for a month and then we'll switch them. So we'll take the 26 that are sending emails, put them on the bench, take the other ones that were on the bench, and then start sending emails. That way we don't burn our inboxes and have to buy a bunch of new domains. Okay. So now if we do the math here, 52, back up a second. We only buy 3 inboxes per domain. Okay. Which means, for example, kyle.d@nike.com, kyle@nike.com, kyle.dixon@nike.com. Okay, those are 3 inboxes per domain. So if we need 52 inboxes and we only can do 3 inboxes per domain, we'll need about 17.3 domains. So rounding up, we'll need 18 domains. So in summary, to email 10,000 companies every 3 months with a 4 email long sequence, we'll need 52 inboxes across 18 domains set up and warmed up for 3 weeks before even sending emails. Okay, so that's how we reverse engineer the infrastructure we'll need. This is basically part of our cold email deliverability checklist. That's some of the stuff that we like to follow to ensure that our bounce rates are below 2%. Now, kind of testing and optimization protocols that we like to follow. So these are kind of email and pipeline metrics to watch. So if you aren't getting responses, it's typically the constraint is deliverability. Now, if you aren't getting positive replies, it's usually messaging and targeting. Now, if you're getting positive replies but you're not getting meetings, it's typically speed of lead. Like how fast are you getting back to these people after they say they're interested? Try to do under 5 minutes. If someone's interested, you email them back within 5 minutes. That's gonna, I think there's a study by Harvard. You're 80% more likely to get a sale if you respond within 5 minutes. Okay. Now, if you get meetings but they're not closing, it's typically targeting or they're not an ICP. Okay. Now, these are some of our optimization protocols so daily cadence, weekly cadence. This is our feedback system, like Flywheel. Success metrics that we look at. So that's all different stuff right there. What do we do when we get leads? To get more leads, we'll do a lookalike search. So we'll take all our positive replies, meetings booked, deals closed, current best clients, and we'll run a lookalike search on those clients in positive replies and meetings booked to get more people like that to reach out to. Okay. And then we'll double down templates that are working and then A/B test our best templates to see if we could get them even better. Okay. Now this is our follow-up strategy. So this is our cold email follow-up strategy and our multi-channel follow-up strategy for cold DMs. So for example, we'll basically reach out to them and then we'll follow up 2 more times. And if they don't respond after that, we stop. Okay. So this is for example our Loom strategy. Now, once they reply, and if they're interested, we'll send them our video, kind of pitching them and like explaining our process. And I literally just go over this with them on the Loom. And then if they ask for it, we'll follow up 9 more times to see if, like, to see what they thought about the video. So in the video, our call to action is essentially like, let us know if you want us to send you a link. So we pitch them in the video. So we're following up 9 times to see how they liked what was in the video. So we're not asking them to, do they want to hop on a call? We're asking what they thought about the video because the video will do all the work for us. Now, if they ask for the link, and we send them the link from the book and call, and they don't book it, we'll follow up 9 times until they book a time. Okay. And this is part of our show up SOP, post call SOP. There's more to it, but that's kind of like just give you some what we're doing here. And it's literally the same thing with cold DMs with the follow-ups and stuff. Okay. Now, these are some different technologies that we use for outbound marketing, cold email technologies, LinkedIn outreach technologies. There's some cold call ones, company data, sources you can scrape, contact data, so we can enrich it, like find emails and stuff like that, validating emails. These are some of the good intent signal platforms. Some of those intent signals I was talking about earlier. Also, I would check out Common Room, some web scraping softwares and stuff like that to scrape the web. Appify is an absolute beast. I would check out that one. Automations, some different automation platforms you could use. Large language models we'll use. We'll also use Grok. I forgot to add that to there. Grok is a beast in different CRMs. Now, lastly, we'll use scorecards for our cold emails and cold DMs. So this is how we forecast revenue, forecast appointment booking, forecast positive replies and leads and stuff like that. So we'll do a weekly one and then we'll do an annual one. So as you can see down here, up here, we put in our volume each day, how many replies we got, discovery calls booked and blah, blah, blah. And then we'll also set targets, right? So for the week, we'll try to hit this many emails, which should get us this many, leads contacted, which should get us, we're hoping for 1% positive reply rate, which means we should get 150, leads, 18 of them, 18% show rate, blah, 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 right? And then we put the actual what we got for the week, then we calculate the variance, and then we kind of score it. And now if we know that if we're a little bit off, maybe we could buy, we might need to adjust things, right? So if our email sends, if our volume is good, we know it's not a volume problem. If we have a positive reply, but our meeting shows are low, then we know we have a show up problem, right? So we're able to identify kind of bottlenecks with this. And then same thing for annually, we're able to forecast, annual revenue and stuff like that. Okay. Whew. Okay. That's everything. But yeah, let me know how you guys like that. If you guys have any questions on this process, I will be diving deeper in future videos, kind of like showing you guys how I do the market research stuff step by step, and then kind of building lists, all these different stuff and 10 signals. So make sure to like and subscribe because I will be going more into detail on this process in the future. But that's it for now. Hope you guys liked the video and have a great day. And make sure to subscribe. All right.